5 minutes, yes.
All right. I know that this stuff is so bulky, so I'm going to start with just my hat on and I'll take my hoodie off. All right. So let's come to the top of the mat. Maybe my cat can sleep on my hoodie. And let's bring our hands together. Stand as tall as you can, strong through the legs, heavy through the tailbone. Let's lower the arms for the exhale. Inhale to reach up, connect your palms if you can. And just bend your elbows so your thumbs touch the back of your neck. So your elbows are pointing to the ceiling. Inhale to reach up again. Try not to arch your back too much. Exhale to touch thumbs to neck. Inhale to reach up. One more time. Maybe your legs can get a little stronger. And the next exhale, we fold forward. Touch the floor. Bend the knees if you need to. Inhale halfway up. And just step or jump chaturanga. Exhale. Upward facing. Inhale. Downward facing. Exhale. And stay here for 3 breaths. 1. 2. And 3. After your exhale, step or jump forward. Inhale when you get there. Exhale to fold. Rise up. Inhale. Just fold again for your exhale. Halfway up. Inhale. Step or jump back. Chaturanga. Exhale. Elbows just graze your ribs. Inhale to lift the chest. Exhale to lift the hips. This time come down to your forearms. Down dog B. Just 3 breaths. Still pushing the floor away. Just now you're doing it with your hands, your wrists, and your elbows. That's 2. Reach your heels down a little bit more. Strong legs. And 3, we'll re-straighten the arms. And after your exhale, step or jump forward. Inhale to straighter legs. Exhale to fold. Rise up. Inhale. Let's fold again for the exhale. Come halfway up for the inhale. Step to plank this time, not to chaturanga. Stay here for an extra breath. And make a choice, do you want your knees up or down? We are going to come onto our belly. So if you can't control your descent, just put your knees down, make it easier. Let's meet on the belly. Untuck the toes. Shalabhasana C. Interlace your fingers. Rise up, reach your knuckles toward your feet. Push your pubic bone down. Engage your upper back muscles so you can come up a little higher. Maybe you can get your forearms off of your butt. Let's keep the lift. Release your grip. Place the hands under the shoulders. Come up a little bit higher. Press the downward dog for your exhale. Let's pedal out the feet so each heel can touch the ground. And after your exhale, step, walk, or jump forward. Inhale to straighter legs. Fold, exhale. Rise up, inhale. Fold again, exhale. Halfway up, inhale. To plank, exhale. Stay in plank for your inhale. Knees up or down, lower to your belly, exhale. Shalabhasana A, arms by the sides. Lift the chest and shoulders. Make a choice. You want to keep your legs down or lift your legs up. But either way, you are pressing your pubic bone down, reaching forward with the chest and back with the legs. The up is a thing, but out is even more of a thing. All right, let's keep the chest lifted, hands under the shoulders, legs down, little cobra or upward facing dog, and downward dog for your exhale. Come down to the forearms again for down dog B. And this time in down dog B, pedal out your feet. So each heel can touch the ground. It's a bit harder. Then in down dog A, maybe you have to work your legs a little bit more. Let's re-straighten the arms. After your exhale, step walk or jump forward. Inhale when you get there. Fold, exhale. Rise up, inhale. Arms by the sides, exhale. Samasthiti. Utkatasana. Inhale, arms up, knees bend. Stand again for Samasthiti. Arms by the sides, legs straight. Couple more times like that. So there's our back bend as we inhale. And when we straighten the legs, we have to, with intention, drop the tailbone. So we get out of the back bend. One more time. Okay, Utkatasana for that inhale. This time we'll fold forward for the exhale. And halfway up, inhale. Step or jump, chaturanga, exhale. Upward facing, inhale. Downward facing, exhale. Right foot forward. You decide if it's going to be a high lunge or a warrior one. Reach up to the inhale. And just like we did earlier on, bend the elbows, exhale. Reach up again, inhale. 2 more breaths. Maybe you can keep your upper arms pretty far back. So when you're reaching up, they don't move really at all. Okay, down to the floor, vinyasa at your breath. You can always put your knees down for each chaturanga. Step the left foot forward, high lunge or warrior one, whichever you did. And thumbs to the back of the neck, you'll be looking straight ahead. When you reach up, you can either look straight ahead or look up. You'll notice there's a rotation that's happening in your shoulders. When you bend the elbows, you'll feel your pinky edge of hand press into the other hand quite easily. And when you reach up, it's more difficult. Let's lower the hands and vinyasa. Okay, from down dog, inhale to plank. Exhale down to the belly. Shavasana V. Untuck the toes, slide your hands back a few more inches so your hands are by your waist. And lift the chest forward and up, lift the legs up and back. Maybe you can squeeze your legs together. This should feel like a lot of work in your hamstrings. If you're squeezing the legs especially. See if you can bring your shoulder blades a little closer together, lift your chest up higher. Let's lower down, slide the hands forward a few inches so you can rise to your upward dog nice and naturally. Downward dog for the exhale. Okay, right foot forward. Warrior one. Inhale to reach up. This time, eagle arms. Right arm will come under the left, twist the forearms together. I like to interlace the fingers just to get the palms closer, then uninterlace. So we'll just work on this little back bend here, lifting the elbows up away from the chest. It helps us lean back a little bit more. Just take a breath or two. Try to get the thumbs away from your nose. It's very tempting to kind of karate chop into your face. Okay, unravel the arms, reach up, inhale. Hands to the floor, step back. Chaturanga, exhale. Upward facing, inhale. downward facing exhale. We'll step the left foot forward so that we can just do the other side. The left arm will come under. We try our best to get the palms together. A lot of wiggling that might have to happen. Back leg super straight, tailbone moving down, so that you don't feel any crunching in your low back here. The more your low belly can draw in, the more you'll feel this in your shoulders. You'll feel pretty stable in the legs. One more breath. We'll unravel and reach up. Hands to the floor, vinyasa. Or if you're feeling tired, downward dog. It's early yet. Take a few more breaths here. Yay, Rob's here. Okay, let's rock forward to plank and lower down to the belly for Sphinx. You just have the elbows slightly in front of the shoulders. Roll your shoulders back so you feel like your chest is lifting up because you're being poked in the back by your shoulder blades. See if you can push your pubic bone down a little bit more so that you feel less of a curve in your low back. And keeping that anchor, lift your elbows an inch or two up. Pretend there's a ballet bar or a railing, you could think of it as a railing, just under your shoulder blades. Start to curl yourself over that railing. Let's come out of the back bend by leaning forward. We'll curl the toes, lift the hips, forearm plank. Reach your tailbone toward your feet. So you've now taken yourself out of the back bend. Walk the feet in, turning it into down dog B. The more you walk in, the more challenging it's going to be. The more you have to push into your hands. Take one more breath. We'll meet in a normal downward dog, 2 straight arms, 2 straight legs. Right foot forward. Warrior 1. Inhale. This time we'll lift the back heel. As we bring the back knee down, we'll just lower the fingers to underneath our hips. And we'll return to Warrior 1 by squeezing the thighs together and reaching up. So you have some spinning on the ball of the left foot. And it takes quite a bit of control. We want to try to keep the hips square the whole time, but you'll notice it's a lot easier to be square in your Asana than in your Warrior 1. Let's meet in that Asana. And if your fingers don't quite touch the floor, no big deal. It does not mean that you will never get King Pigeon. Take one more breath. We'll plant the hands. 3-legged dog. That right foot will just lift up. Let's stack the hip, bend the knee. Kick yourself in the butt and try to get your right knee to point to the ceiling. Level the shoulders. Take one more breath. We'll turn it into Wild Thing by letting that right foot come around. And sometimes in Wild Thing, we take it around to Urdhva Dhanurasana, but I would not recommend doing that right now because it's quite early. There's a lot more opening to do, but if you're a back-bendy person, maybe. I know if I did that now, I would never walk again. Okay, let's swing ourselves to downward dog again. 2 feet on the ground, 2 hands on the ground. I think I'm ready to take my little hat off. Okay, left foot forward. Warrior 1. into our Asana. So your shoulders are already over your hips. So that won't change. But you'll notice that when you're trying to reach your fingers to the floor, in your Anjane, it's tempting to lean forward. But in fact, you want to be leaning back. So err on the side of too far back rather than too far forward so that you're open when you come down. And we'll meet there in that Anjane. The palms can face in or out. And there's still that concept of the railing that we're draping ourselves over. Okay, hands down in front. Three-legged downward dog, left leg to the ceiling. Stack your hip, kick yourself in the butt. Either stay like that, or wild thing, that left foot drops down, the hips push up. And I like to look toward the left hand. So I'm reaching and I'm looking at where I'm reaching to. And then later, if you do decide to take it to Urdhva, you have already that feeling of open throat. Okay, let's get it to downward dog. Shake it out as needed. Let's step walk or jump, feet to hands. Inhale whenever you get there. Cal, you okay?
I just disconnected, so I had to log in again.
Oh, okie doke. And we'll fold. Let's bend the knees. We'll meet in Utkatasana. We need little assistance to do our reconnections for us so that we don't miss any poses. All right. Let's squat for a moment. And I'm just going to back up so I stay in frame, but you're fine. So squat as low as you can with your knees touching and with your heels down. So you may be this low, you may be lower, you may be not this low. But the rules for right now are heels down, knees connected. There's many ways to squat, so this is just one. Take one more breath, belly in. You're going to power up your legs, push into your feet, come all the way to standing. Let's just do that twice more. So it's similar to when you were in Utkatasana and then to standing, it's just harder. This is really the strength you need for drop backs, which I don't think we're doing today, but, you know, at some point. I like to do those more when we're all in the same room together, because they're very scary to do by yourself. Okay, the next time that you're squatting, just lean forward, find your Bakasana, jump back from Bakasana, or just step back. We're going to meet in downward dog. Good. Let's bring the right foot forward from downward dog. Inhale to warrior one. And exhale to warrior two. You'll have to adjust your feet a little bit so you get that heel to arch alignment. Inhale to straighten the right leg. Exhale to bend for partial Konasana. Any version you want for right now. Just take 3 breaths here. Okay, we'll turn this into triangle pose. You may or may not want to scoot your left foot a little bit closer to you. Try to look up at the thumb. Carol, lean your left ribs back a little bit more. Good. All right, let's return to partial Konasana. So if you scooted your left foot in, scoot it back. But this time we're going to bring our left hand behind the head, just at the base of the skull, like where your head meets your neck. And push your head into your hand and reach out with your elbow. So when I had my arms straight, I was reaching out with my fingers. Now I just reach out with that left elbow. And the head pushing back is going to be very helpful later. We need some strength in the neck. We need it to help us curl back. Okay, slowly unravel vinyasa. So we do need to get out of the mentality that king pigeon is all about our back and our spine. It's actually a lot of hip flexors, a lot of shoulders, a lot of neck. So there are ways to eke into it. Left foot forward, warrior one. We inhale to rise up. We exhale to open up, adjust the feet. Let's straighten our left leg. Inhale, crack pop. Exhale to bend for Parshvakonasana. And this one we reach out with our right hand. We try to get a straight line from right foot to right hand. And every inch we reach, with equal and opposite force, we push the foot down. Okay, into triangle. And as you're leaning back, try to take your whole set of ribs with you so that it's not just this right shoulder, and it's definitely not just the arm. It's really tempting for folks to bring the arm back. But you can see your arm and you can see kind of how it connects to the rest of you. So bring it all back as one unit. Okay, turn it into Parshvakonasana again. Rebend the left leg. Right hand behind the head. It's where the head meets the neck. And the elbow is going to be forward, not up to the ceiling. So I can actually see the elbow with my eyeballs. And push the head back, reach out through the elbow. And the stretch you'll feel is not all that different to a normal Parshvakonasana. But it does help us imitate a bit more of what our shoulders have to do in something like king pigeon or Kapalabhati. Okay, hands to the floor, vinyasa. Let's lower to the knees for Anahatasana 1. Arms out in front, either forehead down or chin down, or chest down. And instead of us letting it all hang out, let's think of lifting the belly up, away from the floor. Now our chest is moving down, but our belly is moving up. Okay, rock forward somehow. There's not a great way out of there. We're just going to meet in downward dog. It's kind of a slithery thing to get out. Okay, let's sit the right foot 3/4 of the way forward. Twisted triangle. Right leg straight. Right arm up. And it's the same deal. When we're trying to twist, we're not just thinking about this right arm moving. We're trying to move the ribs, the shoulder. Maybe we can look up and see that thumb. But every inch we see the thumb move, we feel the torso rotate. And the more we can step on that right foot, the more powerful our foundation will be. Our hips will stay more square. We'll feel more twist. Okay, untwist. Left foot will step back more for Anjaneyasana. Hands to the right knee. And you've been here already. Let's just add on a smidge. So the left arm, we'll bring it up. You can either hold your forearm with your right hand, pull up and side bend, or you can reach your right hand out to the side, either for the floor or a block, and have your left arm free. Whichever suits you better. One of the rules is keep bending your front knee. feel this in that left psoas. Take one more breath here, then we're just going to change it a smidge. Let's bend the left elbow. So if you were holding it with your hand, just let that go. Hand to the base of the skull. And now do the same thing, but point with your elbow. So it's the same side bend, but we feel like this is reaching over at the same time that the hips are moving down. Okay, let's get out of there. Ooh la la. And either vinyasa or just change sides. And we start with our twisted triangle. So we'll bring our left foot about 3/4 of the way forward. It's not a full lunge stance. Heel to heel alignment. And we make our way into the twist. So it's not going to be at your deepest place right away. The same will be true for your deep back bends, like a king pigeon or a capo. So as you're bringing your left arm, shoulder, and ribs back, see if you can get your right shoulder more over your right hand. Let's untwist, and we'll meet in our Anjaneyasana. So that right knee down. You can tuck or untuck your back toes. Reach the right arm up. You already might feel something, or add your side bend. This is my tight side, so it's not quite excruciating, but it's a bit troublesome. In a nice way, though. Feels like something is being worked out. Keep dropping the hips. That left hamstring is working to bend the left knee more. We'll bend the right elbow. We'll bring the elbow in a bit so you can see it. It's not poking out to the side. And then your arm will be nicely in the socket. There's no awkwardness in the shoulder. And you can reach out to the left with that right elbow. And there's a little bit of strength in your neck. Okay, let's slowly get out of there. Vinyasa. Step either foot forward. We're going to turn for Prasarita. So however you want to be arranged for your camera. We'll get the toes to face the long edge of the mat. Let's go for D position. Reach for the big toes with the first two fingers and thumbs. Inhale. And exhale. Fold. Attempt to get your head down to the mat between your feet. If it's easy, walk your feet in a little bit closer. Try to get your shoulders to defy gravity here a bit. So they're moving up toward your butt, up toward the ceiling. And let's inhale halfway up. Place the hands to your hips. Exhale. And come the rest of the way up. Inhale. I'm just going to bring the heels in, toes out. Goddess pose. Bend the knees. Don't let the knees drop in like this. Ouch, that's very awkward. Push the knees back. And either keep your hands here or hands to the thighs. Lean forward. Bend the knees another inch. Maybe slide side to side a little bit. Okay, we'll turn toward the right leg for Anjaneyasana with Bekasana grip. So we'll reach for the inside edge of the left foot. The thumb is near the big toe. If I try to get Bekasana grip from here, I can kind of do it because my arm is really long. But it's much easier if you bring your foot close to you first, so that the heel is by your hip, and then you can spin your fingers over your toes. Watch the elbow here. It goes from close to your body to up. Very simple. Should not hurt. If it hurts, you stay in a prep. You don't go all the way in. The shoulder stuff, real easy to solicit pain and real hard to recover. Okay, let's let that go. Spin around to the other side. Just find your Anjaneyasana left knee bent. Right hand inside of the foot. And you probably don't remember the start of your yoga career, but there was a time that you could not reach your foot. When you finally did, you were probably holding the outside. So maybe you settle in here for now. When you can, bring your foot in close as possible. Then I like to put my pointer finger between big toe, second toe, so that when I get my fingers over the toes, I'm not breaking my toes off. The palm of the hand is nicely situated far enough down on the foot so that there's no pressure on the toes. But it's very common for the first year or so of this grip to feel like your toe is about to break. Okay, let's get out of there. Quarter turn to face the long edge of your mat again. This time, Prasarita B, hands to the hips and fold forward. We'll attempt to get our head to the same place as when we were in D position. But now your hands are not helping pull you. So you have to be a little bit brave, get your weight out of the heels a smidge, and you have to be a little bit stronger in your legs, forward tilt in the pelvis. Okay, let's bring the hands down. We'll just walk to the right again. This time we'll reach for the ankle, not the foot, with both hands. And we'll just kick that heel away to open the chest. So nothing crazy. We won't bring the back foot down right now. We'll just try to feel a stretch through the pectoral muscles. Maybe you could get a little more open in the throat. But as soon as you start to lift your chin, your balance point will change. You'll have to work your legs a little more so that you don't feel wobbly. Okay, let that go. Pivot around to the other side. So the foot is quite flexed here. And if you can't get your grip on your ankle, maybe you just get one hand. The more you can bend your front knee, the farther your right heel will move from your butt. Okay, let's slowly get out of there. I was not slow. I hope you were better. Let's quarter turn to the side. We're going to go for goddess pose again. So heels in, toes out. Again, just standing first. Make sure that your knees will behave without your application of pressure. Then either do the same thing, hands to knees, or go a little further, hands to ankles, elbows to knees. Yikes. Usually this is okay, but woo-wee. A bit tight today. And again, maybe shifting side to side. This is great prep for Samakonasana, which I know everybody loves. Okay, so we're going to meet in Hanuman, facing the right leg. Grab a towel if you can't do Hanuman with your body low, so that you have something under your thigh. I'm just going to reach over here and grab my hoodie again, just in case. So we'll find our Hanuman, and we'll make sure that we feel square. The right hand will go anywhere you need to support your balance. And if I was to use my blanket here, or my shirt, I would just put it under that thigh so that I'm higher up off the ground. And we'll reach our left hand back for the inside of our foot for our Bakasana grip. And I'm gonna keep my butt pretty high. but for right now, I'm just doing it with my right hand instead of my hoodie. But if I bring my pelvis all the way to the floor, I find that the squaring of the hips is too hard. So that's one reason to use a towel or something under your thigh. Balance would be another. Okay, let's let that go. Samakhanasana. We'll just pivot to face the long edge of the mat. Walk the hands back so that your forearms connect to your inner thighs. And you could stay up here. This is a legit place to be in Sama. Or you can slide your hands down or your butt down so that you're less straight, but maybe now your wrists are getting a break. The theory is one day we'll be both on the ground and a straight line with the legs. Not likely for me and many of you, but that's the idea. Okay, so to lift ourselves up, this is helpful for chin stand, which I know some of you do want to get to at some point. So you need to figure out how to lean forward. Hands are going to be by inner thighs, and right now my shoulders are just over my wrists. To get my butt off the ground, I have to lean forward so that my shoulders are like 8 inches in front of my wrists. And then I can get my butt up purely by pushing into the floor with my hands. Then I'll walk my hands forward, bring the feet in a little bit more, and try to find Hanuman on the other side. So it starts like a Anjaneyasana, and then just gets as long as you want it to be. And I know this is my tight side, so I've got my hoodie ready. But I'm still going to use that left hand for balance. Reach the right hand back whenever you can. And start to bring the foot in. And it will be easier to get the grip if you look back at the foot. And then once you're gripped, you just try to square up again. So the process right now by which you're trying to square your hips and keep yourself floating off the ground in order to do that squaring, that is very key for king pigeon, or any pigeon actually. Because in pigeon, we want to hang out on that hip, but that's not really the pose. Okay, let's let go of that foot. Quarter turn to the side again for Samakhanasana again. I moved my hoodie real fast. I just slapped it out of the way. And we'll come down to the butt. I'm going to close this door because somebody decided to go leaf blowing. They don't care about us. So we'll turn this into chin stand. And don't worry if that sounds crazy. I'm going to flip my Hanuman or my Samakhanasana to face the short edge of the mat. You do not have to do it that way. Okay, so it starts the same way as we just lifted our butts before. Hands are by your thighs. We have to lean forward a lot in order to hoist our hips up. Then I'm going to walk my hands in a bit more, but not crazy far. And I'll start to bring my elbows toward my hip bones. Then I have to bring my chin down in front and lean until I feel my fingers claw the floor. And then it's going to be your butt muscles and your back muscles to get your legs up. So part of this is how do you lean, and part of it is just using your glutes and your back. So give it a try. If you have any neck stuff, maybe skip it and hang out for a little extra in Samakhanasana. Because there is a little bit of weight on the chin. It's not crazy. A lot of weight in the hands. And Lisa, you've got like 2 inches where your elbow is not close enough to your hip bone. Your elbow is more like by your ribs. You got to get it a little lower. Yes, okay. So Anouk, same thing for you. So I'll just show you one more time and then we'll move on, because this is one of those weird things where it's like kind of a circus trick. So the way that I'm into it, first you have to be comfortable with your feet pretty wide. So maybe this is something you work on for a while, for like a year. Hands are the same distance you would for chaturanga. And when I bend the elbows, they can't splay out, they have to come in. They're gonna connect pretty much to the hip bone. And if I go from here, see I'm kind of like hunched, that's not gonna work. So I have to lean forward. And then I keep leaning and I'm looking toward the top of the mat. So my eyes were like kind of here, even though my hands were here. So try it again if you want. Otherwise, we're gonna meet in down dog B on the forearms. Yes, Lisa, balance point is much better. So now it's going to be your butt and your low back. Good. And one of the ways people do chin stands, I feel like I'm about to break my elbows. So I don't need, this is not even the only way to chin stand, you guys. Okay, so let's meet in down dog B if you're not already there. We'll bring our knees down and turn it into Anahatasana with the palms connecting and the forearms vertical. You can visualize your armpits touching the ground. And try to look forward. That will depend on how much you're back bending. Belly in. Okay, and then start to move your knees in so that you can find normal downward dog. Okay, let's walk our feet toward our hands. Bend the knees and just roll yourself up to standing. We will use our long strap for the first time. So my long strap is very long. It's actually what I use to tie up my yoga mat when I'm traveling somewhere. We're just gonna put it on our right foot and throw that right strap over the right shoulder. Point your right elbow up. Maybe reach your left hand also to the strap and start to walk your hands toward your foot as you kick your foot into your strap. This is one of the easiest ways to start practicing this shoulder position because you only have one little foot on the floor. So you have a lot of mobility. And I'm dancing around quite a bit right now. We try to stay balanced in one spot. Doesn't always happen. Let's slide the strap through the hands to loosen the grip so that eventually you can let it go. Let's try the other leg. So we will try this many times through, like here we're standing, we'll try it from an Anjane, we'll try it from the pigeon. This is going to be the easiest. However, you will be getting more and more warmed up. So you'll get more accustomed to this. Just keep your elbows in a bit. And Anu, kick a little bit harder with your leg so your toes go higher. Then you can walk your hands further down the strap. Good, start to slip your hands through and just release. And we can visualize this teardrop shape. Really, it doesn't look at all like that. But I see it sometimes on the internet. Inhale, reach up. And exhale to fold. Let's meet in downward dog. You can step right back or vinyasa. So that visualization of the teardrop shape just helps us maybe kick a little bit higher. never going to look like that, but it might make us work differently. Okay, let's come forward to plank, lower down to the belly. Dhanurasana. We'll reach back for either the ankles or the feet. Before we lift anything off the ground, make sure you can push your pubic bone down. And then lift from this anchor. Feet can be together or apart. And you kick so much that A, you feel your chest stretch, and B, you can visualize this little water droplet shape where your toes are the tip and your body is that nice fluid circle. Okay, come on down, hands under the shoulders, inhale, upward facing, exhale, downward facing. So we're either going to repeat that or go for Bekasana. I'll do Bekasana with you, just in case that is your choosing. Otherwise, same thing. So for Bekasana, we're going to reach back with both hands for the insides of the feet. And we did Ekapada before. The pointer finger can go between big toe, second toe, and we start to push the feet toward the hips as we lift the chest up. So the elbows are facing up and they're squeezing in toward each other. The pubic bone is pushing down. It's interesting that this pose comes before Dhanurasana in second series because it's about 1,000 times harder. Let's slowly unwind from wherever you are, hands under the shoulders. Inhale, upward facing. And exhale, downward facing. And just take a few breaths here to be somewhat relaxed. Just took a run away from Billy because she was tearing it up. Okay, let's rock forward to plank. And exhale down to the belly. Bring the right arm out to the right. Gently roll onto it. Through center over to the other side. This is as a prep for Parshva Dhanurasana. Okay, through center. And into Dhanurasana so we can roll that onto the sides. We will hold the ankles. Same thing of lifting up, find that teardrop shape. And you can see that I look nothing like it, but it's the visual. And we roll onto the right. And we're trying to kick our heels away from our butt so we feel the hip flexors stretch. We'll come through center over to the other side. And there's a shoulder stretch, there's a hip flexor stretch. You might feel both, or maybe you're distracted by one or the other. Let's come through center. Take 2 more breaths, kick your heels up a little higher. And come on down when you're ready for your vinyasa. Okay, Pigeon number 1. So if you do not want pinch up, down dog V will suffice. You measure out your arms, plant your hands, and down dog V, you'll keep your feet on the ground. If you want pinch up, think about where are your hips going, so that you don't rush to get the legs up. Because if you rush the legs, you're going to end up kicking into the wall with quite a lot of ferocity. Good. A nook for your top leg. Keep reaching it a little higher up toward the ceiling. Good. All right, let's come out of there. We're going to lay on our backs for a moment. Just for Setu Bandha Sarvangasana. And this is a nice, easy one. Heels by your butt, hips up, interlace your fingers under your back. And for your chest, it should feel kind of similar to those Dhanurasanas. You have that lift. And if you can press your heels into the floor and traction them back toward you, you're going to feel your hips get higher, your hamstrings get strong. Take one more breath. And come on down to your back. Okay. I'm thinking, how do I want to play this? I want to go for Viparita Dandasana, round one. So if you can't actually do Viparita, I'm going to face this weird diagonal. You're just going to come here. This is a 5-pointed back bend. I have 2 hands, 2 feet, and a head on the ground. And once you're comfy here, you're going to start to rock forward and back toward your forehead, and toward the crown of your head. And at some point, your chest is going to open. And then you can bring your elbow down to where your hand just was. And eventually, you can bring your other elbow down to where your hand just was. And eventually, your legs can stay straight, or not straight, but like pushing, so that your chest moves through your arms. And at some point, this will translate to your head being able to come off the ground. And stay here for a few more breaths, wherever here is for you. And just notice how similar this shape is to your king pigeon type shape. Good, and come on down. All right, so being there was good. The descents are a little We'll work on the descents after. Okay, let's spin around and just meet in downward dog again. I feel like I'm picky when I ask you to descend a certain way, but it's fun to make you do things sometimes that you don't want to do. Okay, right foot forward. We're going to grab our long strap again. And before we actually do anything with that back foot, just notice if you kind of lazily drop your hips, you'll point your hips to a diagonal. So let's a few times actually go through this process of a lazy and then a scissoring the legs together, just so that you know how to scissor. That right heel is tractioning back, it moves the right hip back for you, then the left hip can come forward. So keeping yourself square, we're going to then loop our strap on our back foot. And it doesn't really have to be a loop. I never actually put a loop, I just kind of fling it back there. And we'll lift that left elbow out. So it's just like you did when you were standing, but 1,000 times harder, because balance, because we have less wiggle room. So just take it as far as you want while you can still breathe and while you don't feel anxious or tense. But make sure you're keeping your elbows in. Your arms are pretty much just outside your head. They're not wide. Good. All right. Let's get out of there and just change sides. Before we actually loop ourselves on that back leg, we're again going to play with how do we square up? Because this is a very strong balance. And when we take it to actual king pigeon, it's even worse. The temptation to rock open in pigeon is enormous. And you have to work the legs together, squeezing them together to save yourself square. Okay, wrap up that back foot when you can. So if we were to be in this pose with the hips open, there would be no stretch here for the hip flexors. So keep bringing that right hip forward, and your right hip flexors will be rejoicing. Remember earlier how we pressed our head back. We had our hand right at the base of the head. If you had a spare hand here, you could put it there. You have a little pillow for your head to press into. Okay. Take your time getting out of there. And let's vinyasa. Oh my God, that's so hard. Ooh. All right, so we're gonna go for pinch around 2, but we're gonna do it in a way that we think about the scissoring of the legs. So the action that you were doing here to square up is applicable in pinch up, especially for those of us that are at our level of flexibility. Billy, I'm busy. She's very demanding, this Rottweiler. Okay, so I'll just show you. I'll step 1 foot in, and as I lift this leg, I'm stacking my hip. If I keep my hip square, I'm here. And then I need more of a kick because I'm just not flexible enough to get the leg up any higher if my hips are square. So I'm going to cheat it a little bit. But then as soon as the right leg is able, I scissor the legs together to square up again. And now I'm square. So that's a similar thing to what you have to do in your pigeon or in your Anjane. So give it a try. In order to eliminate a huge kick requirement, we let that hip go up more. We get out of square. And circus folks are very flexible, so they don't need to do it this way. But we can just square up again real quick by scissoring the legs once your second foot is up. Good. Anouk, you got that. Now you just have to fight it a little more once you're in it. Nice. Okay. Let us rest on our backs again for Viparita Dandasana round 2. And if this is not to your liking, either repeat Setu Bandha or maybe go for Urdhva Dhanurasana, which we will do Urdhva Dhanurasanas also. Don't you worry. This is just a little bit more similar to your positioning when we have the strap in tow. If you are in Viparita, lift your head by pressing into your feet more. You'll have more weight in your elbows. And once your head is up, you can try to look at your thumbs. I can't actually see the thumbs, but looking at the thumbs or visualizing helps us curl the upper back a little more. To get down, we're going to place the crown of the head on the floor, put the hands where the elbows just were, and come up to Urdhva Dhanurasana. And you can tuck the chin and land on the shoulders. So at no point is there a weird rocking over the neck kind of thing to get at. Okay, let's somehow meet in downward dog. I just roll to the side because it is the easiest way. Let's bring the knees behind the wrists and stand on the shins. We'll just do a few little preps for Laghu Vajrasana. Let's reach the arms forward. And without changing the straight line from head to knees, we'll just lean back. Our toes will catch on the ground and we'll come forward again. We'll just do this a few times, keeping that line. Let's see how this is going. I'm just going to hold the computer while I watch. If this is easy, you can put your hands by your sides. Then you just have a little less counterbalance. Good. And you feel your thighs get real strong. Okay, let's have a seat between our feet. And you can always sit on a block if this hurts in any way. Toes are facing back. We'll come down onto the elbows. We're going to turn this into Urdhva Mula, Supta Virasana. So lift your hips up, lift your chest up, bring your hands to your heels so your elbows move a little closer to your feet, and drop the crown of your head to the floor. Either stay here with your elbows on the ground or reach for opposite elbows and bring your forearms down to the floor where you can actually see them moving. Notice how hard it is to keep your hips up. Do it as best you can. Take 2 more breaths. Place the palms by the shoulders, tuck the chin, come into Supta Virasana, which who knew could be restful. After what you just did, it's like relief. If you have any knee pain, come out of it and do something like Anjaneyasana with one leg at a time. Okay, let's start to rise up. And downward dog. That again in a sec. Okay, let's bring the right leg forward to pigeon. We're going to keep our right heel pretty close to our left hip for the moment. Walk the hands back so that either your right hand's on your thigh, left hand's on your foot, or hands on the floor near your hips. Stay for a breath. Squeeze your legs together so that this right hip is not just splayed out lazy on the ground. We'll reach back for our ankle like we did before. Flex that left foot and we'll kick so that we can stay upright pretty comfortably. We're kicking that left heel away from us. And the result is our chest opens and our shoulders stay over the hips. Take one more breath here. Slowly let it go and reach up. Scissor the legs together so your pelvis lifts off the ground another 2 inches. Literally, like the space between your right sitting bone and the ground literally increases. Purely from squeezing the thighs toward each other. Then place the hands down in front and either vinyasa or downward dog. And we will do the other side. So this is really about leg control and finding that balance. Because when you start messing around with the arms, you have to have your legs set. So left leg in front for Pigeon. Shoulders over hips. This might be enough, or it might even be too much, in which case you want to move forward more. When you can, reach back. Doesn't really matter which hand you grip with first. We kick. And you'll pretty much feel it right away. The more you kick, the easier the pose is. Your shoulders are over your hips. This is something that is sort of a prerequisite for King Pigeon, being able to get your shoulders over your hips with no pain. It can be tough, or maybe some days you don't want to do it. So you can use this to gauge whether you want to take it to king pigeon in a few minutes or not. You can always repeat this. Okay, we'll let go of that back leg, and we'll try to stay upright. We'll reach up, we'll squeeze the thighs together. You'll feel your left hip rise off the ground a bit, and now your right hip can move forward. That's what you have to do to keep your balance in king pigeon. So let's let go of that and vinyasa. Take a little resty rest. Okay, and come onto your back for Urdhva Dhanurasana. I will be back in 1 second and I will meet you there. Just did that, but let me know when it's fixed. Okay, come on down from your Urdhva. And we're going to start to mess around a little bit with the legs here to eventually go for Ekapada Kapotasana, which sounds way worse than it is. So we'll come up into Urdhva and we'll toe tap one leg and then the other leg. And we'll just practice this for a moment. Has like a few stages of getting into it, that being one of them. We'll do that a few times, and then take a rest on your back. You might want to circle your wrists. I was trying to fix the iPad. I think you did. Me and technology are not friends. Okay. Let's try again. We're going to increase it just a smidge. We're going to do shin down. So this is going to be leg control. Here we are, pressing into the feet. We're going to bring one shin down, try to land it, and lift, and the other shin down. And as I'm doing this, you might want to just do one each side. You might want to do a few. I'm going to have to think of keeping the elbows in, because they're going to want to splay out. Ooh, good. All right. So come on down. I'll show you the last iteration. If you hated any of those, either repeat those or do some other back bend, but do not do nothing. Okay, so here's where we're going with this. It looks crazier than it is. So I'll lift up, I'll put one shin down, and the other foot I'm going to walk forward a little bit so that I can get my hips higher. And then I'll walk my hands in to get the elbows down. So it's like your viparita sensation. When I want to switch sides, hands down, come up just like you did. Then the other, shin bone down, other foot forward. You might want to even put your head down for a moment, maybe not. Walk it back. So the fingers can crawl on the ground. And all paths lead to this normal Urdhva Dhanurasana. Just take it one step at a time. If you get the shin down, you got to get that other foot a few inches forward so that you can push into that foot extra. Then the hips can stay higher and you can manipulate your arms a little more. Make sure you try both sides. Good. All right. So when you're equal on both sides, come on down. And Carol, I don't know which version you did, but it was good. Was it Bata A? Oh, it was just Bata A. Okay, that's why it was so good. So we gotta start doing a different one for you. I was kind of hoping it was something else. Okay, so let us meet in Pigeon. And we are gonna just go for King Pigeon with us first. I'm gonna use my smaller one because it serves to A, imitate the pose a little more, and B, absorb sweat from my foot. Because when you go to do this pose without a strap, a foot sweat scenario is actually difficult to deal with. Okay. And Carol, if this is not suiting you, oh, she got a strap, okay. I was gonna say something other than A position. Okay, so right leg in front. And again, I'm not gonna have my foot way out like I would for a deep pigeon. Like if we were prepping for football behind the head, I would try to get your right shin parallel to the top of the mat. But if we do that now, the temptation to fall onto the right hip is really extreme. And we have to work on our balance now, so we're gonna scoot that foot in and try to scissor the legs to square, because that's the goal for this particular pose. So your foot placement is gonna vary with pose. Okay, so we take our little strappy strap, get your left hand as close to your foot as you can. Your elbow is facing down. You're gonna start curling your upper back. And with this left arm, you're gonna pull your foot in. See how it's already like pretty close to me? Once it's close to me, then I can get the elbow to point up. If you try to move that around when the foot is far away, it's gonna hurt. And the elbow never really goes out to the side. It's kind of a scooting close to the body and then forward and up. And of course, your strap can be any length. But because I started close to my foot, I can actually have my foot. Good. And then let's release. Oh, so and look, you see exactly what I mean about the falling onto the side. Because that's exactly where not to end up. Good, let's try the other side. Left leg in front. Quiet out there, you guys. So wrap up however you can. Check that your right knee is behind your hip. And start to pull it in. Your left hand is free. So another thing you can do is as you're pulling this in, you can hold your strap with your left hand and move your right hand closer, because maybe you just gauged that that's possible. And eventually that right elbow can move forward and up. Good. So you'll notice that your legs have to be working first and foremost so that you can address walking the hands down the strap. Okay, and let's slowly get out of there. Carol, that was pretty good. That was like a 7.5 out of 10. And let's vinyasa. Okay. Before we go for King Pigeon without the strap, let us go for Asana one more time. Potentially this time you turn it into Scorpion, which is just a little bit more back bend. You can visualize your toes touching your forehead. Even when a teacher tries to do that for me and push me into it, does not happen. My toes have never touched my head. But the process of getting to Scorpion is pretty fun. because here's your pincha. You push your hips away from your hands, look forward more, and keep pushing. Like I'm trying to get my hips to go out my front door as I look toward the top of the mat. And it feels really quite extreme, even though, you know, my feet are super far from my head. It feels like they're about to touch. But it takes a lot of pincha control, so go very slowly. And you should always know where your hips are in relation to your shoulders so that you only fall out of it when you want to. Carrie, you're not using your couch anymore? The love-hate relationship with your couch has turned. Okay. The couch has abandoned you. All right. Good, and that's a good balance. All right. So I'm gonna turn you loose for like 3 minutes to do a back bend of your choosing. We've done a lot. You could repeat those ones from the back where you're approaching Ekapad Kapotasana, or you could go into Kapotasana. I'm gonna get us toward King Pigeon without a strap, which maybe you're not quite ready for, because if it was not that fun with a strap, it's really not gonna be fun without a strap. And I can tell that on this side, I already can feel it, that it's not gonna work. My other side, it might work. So, let's see what everybody's trying. Anouk looks like she's recovering from something. So if you are going for King Pigeon without a strap, I'm holding the pinky toe edge of my foot, and I'm gonna pull my foot toward me, just like we did earlier. And I'm gonna try to curl back. Oh, actually it might work, I don't know. Yeah. So it only worked because I curled back. Now that I have my elbow up, I can lift my head again, but in the process of getting the hand situated, I was reaching my head back so that the curl was as easy as possible, because that foot and head, if they're close, it's a lot easier to rotate the arm. So if you tried that side, try the other side. If you're doing some other back bend, make sure that you balance yourself out. Also, lately we've done some ustrasanas into urdhvas. Feel free to practice those. That's great practice for dropbacks. I love it. So Lisa grabbed her foot, thought about it for a second, and then grabbed the strap. That sounds about right. So I also do this thing where I kind of like bend and straighten it a few times, almost like I have to get my body like tricked into, okay, this is about to happen. And then I'm using my right hand to help curl back, just like we did many a time. My right hand walks down the left forearm until it can also join on the foot. And it's nice to kind of switch hands. So I approached with my left hand first, and now I'm holding with my right hand, and it's left. So, if you were to do that 3 times a week for a year, you would have this no problem. Let's step back and vinyasa. And if you're on a roll or still balancing out your sides, do not do a vinyasa, just keep going with what you're doing. Okay, so we're gonna attempt Baddha C, but if this doesn't suit you, go for A. And the positioning is very similar. So I'll measure out my hands, interlace my fingers, put my head down, and then separate my hands so my palms are flat. So it's like your pincha arms. and then we'll come up. And you can come up any way you want for right now. We're just going to balance for a bit. Just notice what you're doing to prevent your hands from migrating toward each other. Let's come on down, take your time, and just meet in child's pose. Or something else, because after all those back bends, maybe child's pose is difficult. Okay, downward dog. We'll walk the hands back to the feet. Asana, hands under the feet, palms up. You can bend the knees however much to get this grip. Drop the head. And over the course of a few breaths, we'll just straighten the legs more and more. We'll keep drawing the belly in so that you feel like there's a gap between your torso and your thighs. There may not actually be a gap, but we create as much as we can. The more your knees are bent, the harder that will be, but we just want to feel the bandhas, basically. Okay, release your hands and walk out. This time a pigeon with the right ankle close to the left wrist. So you'll wind up with your right shin bone parallel to the top edge of your mat-ish. That's one of those things that yoga teachers say, and it's like pretty much impossible until your hip is open enough sort of to get your foot behind your head, and then it's like, oh, okay, I can put my shin there. But until my hip was that open, I could not get my shin parallel to the top of the mat. So you just go as far as you want and bring your chest toward your shin. Keep bringing the right hip back, the left hip down and forward. Rise up, swing that back leg around and the right leg back. So we're just on the other side. And as you do start approaching that shin parallel to edge, top edge, your left foot is going to have to be more flexed and karate chopping into the ground a little more. The hands can help quite a lot here with both the squaring, with the balance, taking pressure off. Bring your chest forward. Let's rise up, swing the right leg around. Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. We'll inhale to arch, roll toward your sitting bones. Exhale to round, roll toward your tailbone. The next time you're rounded, we'll keep that rounded shape, but we'll slide the feet further forward so our legs are a diamond shape, and let's bring the head toward the arches of the feet. But you'll notice after all that back bending is difficult. Rise up, Upavishta Konasana, legs out. Reach out for the pinky toe sides of the feet. Bring your chest forward and down. So our legs are in a V shape. Check that your kneecaps are still facing the ceiling. They're not dropping in or out. We'll rise up, wiggle the legs in. Paschimottanasana. After a few breaths here, I'm going to turn you loose for either shoulder stand or headstand. And if you're not doing any inversions today for any reason, you can do legs up the wall or continue forward bending. Okay. Rise up and either lay down for shoulder stand or kneel for headstand. And I will give further instructions once you're up and I see what you have chosen. I see that Anouk is not on her mat at all. She is MIA. Oh, okay, we have all shoulder standing. Okie doke. So Miss Carol, bring your legs further away from the wall and your butt more over your face. Yes. Good. Let's keep one leg there and lower the other leg overhead to plow. In a moment, you're very slowly going to return to your vertical, but scissor the legs together as you do it so that you feel your inner thighs work. So it's more subtle action. And then change which leg is in your halasana so that you can do the other side. So that maybe one day that scissor action is comfortable even in Pigeon or something more difficult. Good, then both legs slowly overhead. It becomes a full halasana. Eventually your toes will touch the floor. Do not worry if they're not on the floor right now. And just remember, this is not a rounded back position. So lift your butt a little higher up. Find that Mula Bandha and start to bring your knees toward your head. Maybe to your temples, maybe to your ears. Some of you, they're going to touch the floor near your shoulders. That is a crazy stretch for the neck, but good for us. Good for the thyroid. Okay, keep your knees close to you as you roll down to your back. Place the palms flat. Go very slowly. It's going to take control. Once you get there, we'll find fish pose. The legs can extend out. Pretend a little string is pulling your chest up. You'll come to the crown of your head. You can either keep your legs on the floor or lift your legs up, arms out in extended prayer. And the most important element about fish is that lift of the chest. Everything else comes from that. Good, then come on down to your back. Just bring your knees into your chest. Rock a little bit side to side. And we will meet in Shavasana. I have the dogs playing and barking. My cats were just hissing at each other. It is quite the chaos and the zoo over here. Take a few more breaths here. And go through whatever process is yours for sitting up. Take your time. If you have the luxury of a longer Shavasana, just exit the meeting and keep laying there. Tim told stories about his trips to the Tommy Joyce and Pigeon. He would be in Shavasana for like an hour, and Tommy Joyce's wife would come and check on him and say, "Are you okay?" Let's bring the hands together. We'll fold forward. Take a breath or two. Namaste.
Good.
We did it! We did it! Woohoo!
Thanks. It was good to be back.